watching the Mid-American Conference and college baseball on ESPN. It's the final week of the regular season. The Miami Redhawks on the road in Muncie to take on the Ball State Cardinals. A weekend that normally would be host to the Mid-American Conference baseball tournament. There is no tournament this year. The stakes this weekend just as high. Ball State is 2 games back of Central Michigan with 4 games to play. The Cardinals can win the league if the chips fall right this weekend. With that, we welcome you high atop First Merchants Ballpark Complex. He is the winningest coach in Ball State history, Pat Quinn, Joel Godet, and PQ. If you're Rich Maloney's team coming into this weekend, how do you approach these 4 games with everything on the line?
This is what you've worked all year for, be in this position. They're in the position where they have to win 4 games, get some help from Toledo, which I think they will. But those 4 games are necessary if you don't get in as a champion in order to build your resume as an at-large chance.
Yeah, Central Michigan is on the road. They take on Toledo this weekend for a 4-game series. Let's talk about the first of these 4, though. A doubleheader today. The first game is 7 innings, and it is the best pitching matchup you possibly could have imagined. 2 guys that will be drafted in the first 5 rounds of this year's Major League Baseball draft. Sam Bachman from Miami is probably going in the first.
I'm really looking forward to the pitching matchups all weekend, 1 through 3, and then 4 is a little bit of a toss-up. But to take 2 guys who could possibly be first-round draft choices and match them up in this game, you can't ask for any more exciting baseball than that.
Chase McDermott opens things up on the mound today for the Cardinals, and on the very first pitch, Benji Brokman grounds toward first base and runs into Trenton Quartermain for out number 1. Well, that's a way to get yourself started here on a Saturday afternoon.
Beautiful day for baseball, Joel. Temperature's about 55 degrees, which means the ball's not going to be jumping, and we've got the wind blowing in, which is going to mean if you do hit a home run, you've earned it. A lot of times the pitchers don't like having that wind at their back simply because it doesn't help their breaking pitch, but it's a good day to pitch today for these 2 young men.
It's a good day to pitch, and it's a good day to pick these 2 pitchers to work in this environment. Will Vogelsang aggressive here early against Chase McDermott.
Best
Cardinals
hitter in their lineup, .319 hitter.
Cardinals pitcher will work it up into the high 90s. 94, 95 is where he'll sit. He'll touch 96s today. That thing is rocked out into left field. So a 1-out single for Will Vogelsang. And that's a good approach, I think, against both of these pitchers. We'll see Sam Bachman for Miami will touch and actually break 100. Be aggressive, get the fastball, hit it hard.
I agree. I think that you have to understand these guys are going to go out there and challenge you with what they've got. That's why the scouts are here today, is to see the velocity. And you have to go out of the batter's box with the idea that the first good pitch you get, you've got to go after.
So this is Nate Stone now at 268. And a first pitch strike from Chase McDermott. What you're going to see from both of these pitchers today is hard, and it's going to be over the plate. So if you're a hitter and you're aggressive, like, yeah, the pitcher's good, but it's going to be there for you to take advantage of if you can. The question is if you can.
Well, that's why you put the uniform on, and that's why you hope for opportunities like this to face somebody that's got this ability, that's got this potential to match up what you've got with what he's got and see who comes out on top.
0-2 here to Stone. The problem becomes when you face guys like this, when you fall into an 0-2 count, it is a worrisome place to be. The 1-2, and that's popped up. Peltier is going to give it a chance over at third base, but that's out of play.
Miami's only hitting .242 as a team, and to be quite honest with you, the first 4 in their lineup are the ones that you've really got to be concerned about. They've got the numbers, they've got respectable batting averages, and they've knocked in runs at a decent pace. So the pitching on the Ball State part has got to be really to handle those first 4 hitters.
Miami's batting average as a team is last of the 11 teams in the Mid-American Conference. And the 1-2 got him. Chase McDermott leads this league in strikeouts. He's top 10 in the country. That's his first today, 3 batters in.
Miami's hitters also strike out an awful lot going into this game. They had like 499 strikeouts in 416 innings.
Yeah, Miami is an interesting dichotomy. The Redhawks lead the Mid-American Conference in strikeouts. That's it.
Pitching and hitting.
And hitting. You can just say they lead the league in strikeouts. You don't have to clarify it. You're just correct.
Covered it all.
Yeah. Cole Andrews now is behind in the count. First team all-conference the last time we had an all-conference back in 2019. Primarily the DH that year, as he is again this year. Catcher by trade, though.
I expect we'll see him behind the plate in the second game.
Curveball. You know, the scouts are here to see Bachman first and foremost. The guy is going to be a first-round draft pick. But Chase McDermott, he is a top 5-round guy, and if he can break off some benders like that today, he's going to earn himself some serious money. Runner goes, stopped, throw to first, and Seby's throw is late. Either that or Quartermain just missed the tag.
Well, he's a little bit concerned. He thinks he's holding his hands up in wonderment. Coach Maloney's come out of the dugout. That's where it ends.
Well, Matt Cunningham walked toward the pitcher's mound, the first base umpire, like he was going to have a conference with the umpires. Oh, I don't know. Here's the 1-2 to Andrews.
Joel, not only does Chase McDermott benefit today by scouts being here to see Bachman, but people like Ross Messina in the outfield and other seniors, they get a chance to display a little bit what they've got in front of eyes that normally wouldn't see them, because we're talking about scouting directors being here, national cross-checkers, not just your normal scouts.
Yeah, this is nothing against the regular run-in-the-mill scout, but these are the dudes.
We're getting to the big time now, where it really counts in the draft, and it looks to me like we probably have every major league team represented here today.
Runners at first base here for McDermott. 2-2 count, and time is called. When you start talking about being drafted, top 5 rounds certainly, but Bachman is receiving for Miami legitimate first-round discussion. Talking about millions of dollars. So you're looking at the big kahunas of scouting that are here to make sure that you're spending your $1 million wisely.
It's got to be money well spent.
That wind does continue to rip in, which is just such a rarity. Two out, 2-2 to Andrews. Peltier, that is a foul ball at third.
You know, Joel, the other thing, when you get temperatures like we've got right now, 55, and the wind blowing the way it is, about 16 miles an hour, it makes it a little bit tougher to get a good grip on your breaking pitch. It's hard to develop any moisture, etc. And you're not looking for a lot, but just to give you a little bit of feel. And when you don't have that temperature and you do have that wind that's drying everything up, it makes it tough to get a good grip on your breaking pitch.
That's why, of course, you'll see sometimes pitchers will go to their mouth, but of course you have to wipe that off before you grip the ball.
Exactly.
Andrews battling again, 2-2. Andrews is down looking. Chase McDermott, couple of Ks here in the first, trying to stake his claim in our battle of top draft choices. Bachman goes next. We have lost our dueling no-hitters. Home half of the first inning here at Muncie. Miami's Sam Bachman toes the rubber for the first time. We still have the highlight pitching matchup of this conference this season. Chase McDermott strikes out a couple in the top half of the first inning, and now Sam Bachman, who sometimes scoreboard radar guns are juiced a little bit, PQ, but at Kent State, 104 miles an hour.
That's impressive no matter what uniform you're wearing. Whether you're in the big leagues or pitching at the college level, 104 is Aroldis Chapman velocity.
He's going to get Aroldis Chapman type money as well in this upcoming amateur draft. Talked about it in the top half of the inning. Scouting directors, cross-checkers. Looks like virtually every team is represented here. This is the Cardinals lineup that will take their hacks against Bachman. Noah Navarro in the leadoff spot. Nick Powell one of the quietest cleanup batters. Just an unassuming personality, but he hits 350. Aaron Simpson at the bottom of the order is probably the hottest hitter, though, right now. He's been an absolute run producer in the 9-hole.
You know, we talked at the top of the first inning about going up and getting aggressive. And I think a little bit with Bachman, I think what you may want to do is wait him out a little bit. Now, I say that, and Navarro goes after the first pitch. But to me, he's been a 5-inning pitcher, which means he doesn't go much past the 70-pitch mark. And I think I'd make him work for everything he's got. I'd probably even try to bunt on him a little bit to see if he can field his position. When you've got a guy this good, I think you want to test him all the way around.
He is beatable. For as many accolades as Sam Bachman has corralled this year, he's only 4-3. So teams have gotten to him. The question is, can you then be another team that does that? You know, how many times can that happen in a year? Count as 1 and 2.
Again, this is a little bit where Miami's offense has hurt their pitching a little bit, too. They don't put enough runs on the board to really give you much room to work.
You give up 2 runs, you can lose. Couple of balls, couple of strikes. To your point, Bachman has started 11 times this year. 8 of those starts have lasted 5 innings or less. He threw a season-high 91 pitches his last time out. That was 5 innings. And there's a strikeout looking of Noah Navarro, who just saw ghosts.
Well, Bachman showed him 2 good fastballs, a pretty good slider, and a pretty good changeup. So he showed him his whole bag of tricks in that first at-bat. Now, that should be helping everybody else in the Ball State lineup to get an idea what he's doing out there.
There's Quartermain now at 320. Cardinals first baseman with a hit in 10 of his last 13. What does that tell you, that he used the entire arsenal there in the opening at bat?
Well, I think it could be he wants to get a feel for everything early in the game so that if he needs it a little bit later on, he's got it. He's done it.
Quartermain deep out toward left field, chasing back at the wall. Back's running out of room, and so is the baseball.
That's showing pretty good power opposite way. Now, Bachman's got pretty much a 3-quarter delivery. He's got a good loose arm, and he gets his hand through real quick. And that's where he picks up a lot of that velocity. And he's got pretty good movement as well.
It's a high strike. 1-2 now to Quartermain. You talk about being aggressive, though, in the first inning. When it comes in hard, it leaves hard. So Quartermain hits it the other way, foul. But if it's going to come in at 100 miles an hour, all you've got to do is put barrel on it, and that baseball can travel. Now the question, as we alluded to in the top half of the inning, can you put barrel on it, becomes the ultimate question. Tenth pitch here. And the count runs full to Trenton Quartermain.
This is a good at bat. This is what I was saying we wanted to do a little bit, is to try to force him into making a little bit more, a few more pitchers than normal.
He gets Quartermain on strikes, handcuffed him down and in. That is now 6 batters in the game, 4 of them down on strikeouts. Pat Quinn, this is baseball in 2021.
Well, that's what baseball's going to. Strikeout, walk, home run. We'll see how we progress here. Quartermain was certainly frustrated as he took that weak swing on that last at bat.
It's 0-1 to Ross Messina. The constant through all of this, though, first pitch strike. Every at bat of this game so far, first pitch strike, both pitchers.
Well, I tell you, if you get that first pitch strike, that makes it much, much easier on the rest of the pitches that you're going to throw in that particular at bat.
That's the damnedest thing. I mean, you could give a little margin for error.
2-seam fastball that ran up and in on him there. Messina's a player could benefit today, Joel, with scouts here, because I think he's got some ability. He's got an opportunity. The draft only 20 positions this year.
Missed up again off speed. Yeah, formerly a 40-round draft, cut it down to 5 rounds last year. Now just 20 rounds.
And obviously there's no more short season A-League either. So that means there's fewer opportunities except for possibly an independent ball.
2-2. Got him in. Sam Bachman strikes out the side here in the first. 5 Ks between the pitchers. Whoever puts it in play is going to win this game. You know, you thought Chase McDermott had a good first inning. Gave up a single. He struck out a couple of batters. 13 pitches, quick work, no score. Sam Bachman strikes out the side in the bottom of the first. The gauntlet has been thrown down, Pat Quinn.
Well, I think it's a challenge for both pitchers today. I mean, you've got the best of the league going against each other, and it's making for a great matchup. A lot of strikeouts. Somebody's going to have to put the bat on the ball eventually.
Well, Vogel saying the single in the first inning, the only man to reach so far. First pitch swinging. Miami is aggressive, and just like that, Jacob Henser is aboard, a leadoff single here in the second. So the strategy is clear for Miami. They are coming out, hit the fastball. Let's make contact if he gives it to us.
Well, I would have to agree. I think McDermott, what he may need to do here is change up his thinking a little bit on that first pitch fastball. 2 innings in a row. And we're talking about an individual. Henser's only got a 186 batting average, so he jumped all over that first pitch fastball.
Third baseman now Brian Zapp. Are the scouts and the scouting directors and the cross-checkers that are here today looking for that too, to say, all right, we've got a pitcher who's got stuff. They're coming with an approach of we're going to hit it early. How does he adjust? How does he respond? And how would he do that if we get him in our system?
Well, I think that's all part of it. I mean, obviously the pitch control and velocity, spin rate are all important. But making adjustments on the mound, as you say, is also something that they want to take into consideration. That's some of the outlying factors that you want to see. You want to see how he handles adversity, how he handles base on balls, how he handles a tough pitch that's not called a strike. All those things go into his makeup.
Does he have pitchability? That bunt is popped up, and Chase Sebi pockets the first out of the inning. Already you can see the strategy in just a 7-inning game for Miami as well. Hey, we got a guy on. Let's try to get him over and get him in. 1 run might legitimately win this game.
Without a doubt. Without a doubt.
Do you try to bunt here again if you're Dalton back? You'd have 2 outs with a runner in scoring position.
No, I think in this particular case, if you do anything at all, you'd probably think more hit and run type thing.
Back's a freshman, a 243 hitter. A ton of power, though.
I'd say that Miami would even be considering a straight-out stolen base, except for the fact that Sebi is so good behind the plate at throwing, and McDermott's pretty quick to the plate.
Curveball. Sebi does lead the league in gunning down runners. Dalton Back led the state of Indiana in home runs before he made his way down to Oxford. Fastball, and it's 1-1. Can you think of a more highly anticipated pitching matchup in your mind for Ball State in the last, decade?
No, this is for both teams. It's an unbelievable matchup. For the Mid-American Conference, it's an unbelievable matchup.
1-2, swings and misses in the dirt.
If you're a professional scout, it's a dream. You know, to see two class pitchers like this close to the draft at the end of the season, to be able to compare and evaluate is just a gift.
Cuts down travel costs.
Without a doubt.
Wastes one away. Count is even, couple of balls and a couple of strikes. Here to Dalton Back.
Good tight breaking pitch there. He's trying to get him to fish for that one. Wouldn't be surprised to see him come back in under the hands now.
1 out, 1 on, no score in the second. And we'll check it first. The only one that I can think of, but it's more in hindsight, is if you go back to 2016, Ball State played Western Michigan. Zach Plesac faced Keegan Aiken. Both guys are now major leaguers. And there's a strikeout for a guy that might be one in the future. Chase McDermott, his third, 2 down in the second. I don't know, though, if at that time you went into that game and said, like, hey, buckle up, this is going to be a slobber knocker of a pitching matchup, the same way that you feel about this game coming into it today.
Well, I think the two previous pitchers, including Plesac, I think they were draftable, but I don't think they were the high draft that these two look to be. You know, my first guess, the first time I saw McDermott this year, I said top 5. And second time, I changed it to top 3, and I haven't changed it. I still think he's a top 3, and obviously Bachman's a first-rounder.
Runner went, then stopped. That's fouled back. Ball and a strike. Billy Kopicki is the starting shortstop today, with Jacob Henser over there at first base. What says top 3? Like, in your mind, what's the difference between McDermott being a 5th-rounder and a 3rd-rounder?
Probably right now just velocity.
Ground ball through the left side. Is that it? A couple of miles an hour? Says, all right, let's take him off the board 2 rounds earlier.
Well, I think you've got to put everything together. You've got to take a look at where he is right now with velocity, and where do you think he's going to be in 3 years or 4 years with professional training, nutrition, sleep patterns, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Because that's what teams are getting into now. They're taking in the whole package. And obviously, if you're going to take somebody in the first round, it's got to be pretty somebody that you feel pretty certain is going to make it all the way.
Nate Stoles, the catcher, first pitch swinging. Playable out in right field. If it stays fair, Ross Messina makes the catch. And the inning comes to a close. So a couple of hits, nothing else doing. Ball State, Miami, scoreless. Pitching matchup of the year in Muncie. One, two, three in the first inning for Sam Bachman. He is winning the pitcher's duel. The score is almost secondary in this game. You're matching up the way that these two guys are pitching. Yes, your teams want to win the game, but it is Bachman and McDermott in an absolute duel for money, really. Every scouting director you could think of from a major league team is in the stands today.
Well, if you'd have told me before the game started that Miami would be sitting with 3 hits after the second inning, I'd look at you like you had sawdust for brains. It surprises me a little bit. I mean, they've been very aggressive. They kept their swing short, and they haven't been rockets except for the one that Vogelsang hit. But they've been well placed, you know, base hits. It'll be interesting to see as we progress now on what Ball State tries to do and how to handle Bachman.
Didn't handle him well at all in the first inning. 15 pitches, 0 contact. And Nick Powell is ahead. First time that's happened in 4 at-bats against Bachman. Powell with a hit in 13 of 14 games. That has him up to a season-high watermark at 353. There's your first ball in play, and it's Kopicki at shortstop. There's 1 down.
Kopicki is not Miami's normal shortstop. He's more of a utility guy, shortstop, third base, second base. He did play against Bowling Green on Tuesday and was 1 for 3. But other than that, he only had one opportunity to play in the series last week against Akron. And that was not an easy play, getting a left-hander out of the box on that 4 or 5 hopper.
First time we've seen the Cardinals show bunt today, and yes, Adam Tellier does offer. Count is 0-1. Tyler Wardwell, the Duke transfer, is usually the starting shortstop for Miami. Not in the lineup this morning. No bunt show from Tellier, and he's behind 0-2. The bunt is something, you talked about it in the first inning. Rich Maloney talked about it this week. It's something you might expect against somebody that throws the way that Bachman does.
Well, I think what you try to do is you want to make him get off that mound, field the ball, throw the ball, do things other than just get into a groove. And that's what he's doing right now. I mean, he's on the rubber. He's getting the ball. He's coming right back at him. Almost everything he has first pitch is a strike, which puts him at the advantage. So I think you have to try to change things up a little bit on him, and that bunt is one way to do it.
You said in your career you did that a couple times?
I did it against Jim Abbott, as a matter of fact, and he handled it and took us out of it. We had to go ahead and do normal at-bats because he was a great athlete on the mound.
0-2. Tellier grounds it. That is foul.
But I think the point is you want to take the pitcher out of his groove. Don't let him get into a rhythm. And that's why maybe as you get into the batter's box, you step out a little bit, or don't get into the box quite as quick when you're walking up to the plate. Put a little bit of stress on him, and don't make quite so easy for him.
And that's what's happening here. Tellier took his time, fouls that one off. But Bachman was literally standing as a statue, glove in front of his face, ready to move into his motion. And Tellier still working to get back into the box.
Somebody in the Miami dugout, whether it be the pitching coach or Coach Hayden, is calling pitches because Bachman looks in every pitch.
Inside corner. That is 4 strikeouts now for Bachman. And Tellier had to look back and ask. 2 down. I've seen a lot of really good pitchers come through this league in recent years. The most recent ones have come through Muncie. Trey Jamison was a first-round pick in 2019. Kyle Nicholas was a second-round pick in 2020. Sam Bachman's going to stack up there right with him. And Rich Maloney told his guys this week, the guy's going to pitch in the big leagues. First-round draft pick, he'll be given the opportunity. And there's a base hit for Decker Scheffler. First one for the Cardinals. Man aboard with 2 down. For the 2-out machine, the guy's a 400 hitter with 2 outs in an inning.
It was a good short swing. Got the barrel of the bat out. Kept his hands in. It's exactly the way you would draw it up.
Now Ryan Peltier. 270 hitter for the Cardinals. Bottom third of the Ball State order. With their first opportunity on the bases, Scheffler runs, hit and run action, and if play have to be made at second, is done so by Vogelsang. Little bit of confusion as he took the bag to the took the ball to the shortstop side of the bag. He retires Peltier 4-3. A hit, nothing else. Scoreless pitchers duel as we work into the 3rd inning of a 7-inning game, so keep that in mind here. Very much could see both Chase McDermott and Sam Bachman go the distance. First game of a doubleheader. Couple of teams that have a couple of pitching staffs at the top of this conference. Central Michigan, of course, right now leads the conference overall. Then it's Miami and it's Ball State. First pitch from McDermott. And he misses to Benji Brokmond, who was bunting to start the game. Very first pitch McDermott threw. Hit it to first. Ball and a strike. Been a good week for the McDermott family at Ball State, by the way. The basketball McDermotts of Anderson. Of course, Chase's brother Sean. And there's a hit by pitch. Leadoff runner is on for the 2nd time in as many innings. Sean McDermott played at Butler, now plays for the Memphis Grizzlies. But Chase's uncle, his mom's brother, is Link Darner, former Florida Southern head coach, former head coach at Green Bay. He was just hired as an assistant for James Whitford on the men's team here at Ball State.
Sounds like a real good hire for Ball State basketball.
Link played at Purdue. Buncho. And a strike outside corner to Vogelsang. So the bunt strategy that we talked about in the last half inning, Miami's turned that around.
Yes, they have. Vogelsang's probably the best hitter that Miami has, 319 average. Came in as a walk-on. Was not recruited out of high school.
And he's hit McDermott for the second time. That's caught by Messina, though. Quickly back to first, not in time to double off Brokman. Yeah, Vogelsang was a walk-on to Miami, wound up being a first-team all-conference performer back in 2018. One of the best defensive infielders in the conference. And Sam Bachman had 2 offers coming out of high school. It was Miami, Ohio, and Lipscomb. So as much time and energy as you put into recruiting, it is an inexact science.
Well, especially in baseball. I've always said that baseball is not an easy sport to recruit. There's so many games, so many competitions, so many showcases going on that you can't get to all of them. And when you do, you may not be able to take enough time to see everybody you want to see.
And you might not see them do anything.
That's exactly right.
You can sit at a game for a long time with nothing happening.
And in all honesty, you take a player like Vogelsang, was probably a very, very good, solid high school player in Cincinnati at McNicholas High School, and probably just didn't get enough looks from people that were coming in to see him or opposing teams.
Nate Stone is the batter here. He's 0 for 1, and that pitch won't count. Time was called. Some jeers from the Cardinals dugout for how late that time was granted. McNichols High School has never been known for its baseball program, though. Its coaches are just not historically very, very notable.
You're probably referring to me.
Aaron Simpson in center field. 2 down.
We were pretty good back in the day. I will say that. And we had a first-round draft in '76 with the name of Pat Tabler, who had a very, very good major league career. But the baseball program, it is a good baseball program, and it's in the heart of Midland Redskin territory as well.
Of course, that club program Barry Larkin played for. Was Griffier?
Ken Griffey Jr. played in that program.
Jarrett Reinflesch, if you want a Mac tie.
You could go on and on forever, Joel, with the players that have played in the Midland program.
Fastball away to open up Cole Andrews.
Midland's coach, Danny Hayden, his grandfather was the founder and longtime coach of the Midland Redskins.
The 1-0. They recruit, too. Like, people drive to go play in Cincinnati for that program.
Well, there's people from all over the country that have played in that program. Now, the recruiting is important for them. They recruit just as hard as the college coaches and just as hard as the pro scouts.
Two down with a runner on. Back safely at first base. Brokman was struck by a pitch to lead off the inning. McDermott has had runners on in each of the first 3 innings. So he's had to pitch, I don't want to say in and out of trouble, but he's had to pitch with people on base. Just another thing for the scouts to look at how he handles it. And really how he's avoided getting into trouble. He's put guys on, but nothing has happened.
Right. Difference is he's been pitching from the stretch.
Wind continues to rip inward. That fastball misses outward.
McDermott's been a little bit more deliberate today than what we normally see.
He's behind again, 3-1. I think he worked faster when he was ahead in counts.
Well, I think it goes faster too when you know that you can make a mistake and it may not hurt you as much. You make a mistake today, and a pitcher like Bachman may never let you recover from it.
3-1's teed out towards center. Simpson has a bead, and Simpson makes the final 2 outs in the inning. You can't make a mistake in a game like this because of who's on the mound. Bachman back after McDermott gives up nothing in the 3rd. Four hits in the game so far, all of them singles. 3 against Chase McDermott, 1 against Sam Bachman, the 100-mile-an-hour heat thrower for Miami. 4 strikeouts. He K'd the side in the 1st inning. PQ, everything you expected?
Yeah, I think so. I'm impressed with both pitchers. McDermott has put himself in a position where he's had runners on each inning. He's handled things very well. He's kept his composure. I think you have to tip your hat to that. And Bachman's been everything that I've heard about him. He's a dominant pitcher on that mound. For an individual that's 6'1", 235, he brings it pretty good, and he's got other pitchers to go with it. His changeup's good, and he's got a good tight breaking pitch.
I've seen him as high as 17 in some mock drafts recently. It was from MLB.com. Somewhere in the 1st round is what you're looking for. Sebi goes back to the bunt here. Cardinals have done that a couple of times, trying to make Bachman field his position, but haven't put it in the right spot. Cardinals catcher at 2:08 coming in. He swings, saws that one off to center field. And Brokman has the 1st out. All right, Pat Quinn, could be a 1st-round pick. Miami has never had a 1st-round pick. In the June amateur draft, they have had 5 second-round picks. Trivia question for the day, Pat Quinn, you've got some Cincinnati roots. You've been in this league a long time. How many of those 2nd-round picks can you name?
I'm not sure I can name any of them. Let me give it a little thought. 5 second-round picks?
5 second-round picks. First pitch strike to Aaron Simpson. That one handcuffed him.
Good fastball inside. I would guess that was his 2-seam fastball because it looked like it had some run on it, and it had some late, tight run.
That's the newest pitch in his arsenal. Learned it at Miami. And he does it again. Strikes out Aaron Simpson, Ball State's hottest batter. Down on 3 pitches. Guy's hitting almost 400 here in May. And Bachman just made quick work. Top of the order, Noah Navarro. He went down looking in the 1st.
Yeah, Coach Maloney was telling us that the last couple of weeks Simpson's made some adjustments at the plate, which has given him a lot more consistency.
Got to make a whole new game of adjustments today.
Well, you better get some giddy up in your swing, especially when he keeps that fastball inside. I mean, it's hard to get your hands started and get them there quick.
Making a ball and a strike on Navarro. How much earlier do you have to swing when a guy's throwing 100, 101, 102?
Well, that's something that I think your eyes and your mind have to pick up, but you've got to be ready to pull the trigger.
That one's grounded to 3rd. Should be easy for Zapp, and Noah Navarro is down 5-3. So 1 hit for the Cardinals the 1st time through the order. Still no score. We'll check in on Pat Quinn's 2nd-round pick memory as we go to the 4th. Miami's had more men on base today, but neither team is really threatened. This has been the pitcher's duel we expected. Sam Bachman, Chase McDermott, Miami and Ball State. First of a doubleheader, first of a 4-game series. Chase McDermott has allowed 3 singles. A couple of them in the 2nd inning. He pitched out of that jam with 2 out. Jacob Henser had the leadoff single back in the 2nd. He will lead off again here in the 4th.
Hender's a freshman for Miami that's just really got into the lineup in the last 3 or 4 weeks. That's where not having a real good season provides some opportunities for people that may not normally get them. And that's what's happened to Henzer.
Well, and you've got no conference tournament, so Danny Hayden has nothing to lose. If you're Miami at this point, you're out of it. You're not going to catch Central Michigan. So last few weeks of the season, all right, what do you have here? Who's this guy? How can he help us?
You're not just playing for today. You're playing to maybe show your coaching staff what you can do, what to look forward to from you next season when you come back.
McDermott's really thinking about the first couple of pitches here. You can see he was not happy with ball 1. Ball 2 brought Sebi out to the mound.
That's where Sebi's got some above and beyond your normal tools behind the plate. He's got a good rapport with the entire pitching staff. He's almost like a pitching coach on the field as well.
One of those super seniors. Last year was his senior season, but brought back because of COVID. Corner made in foul territory, and there's one away. So Henzer's retired for the first time.
You know, I think that Quartermain's very, very underrated at first base. I think he does an awful lot of things over there around that bag that go unnoticed by the normal fan. But he's a very, very solid first baseman.
He played shortstop in junior college, so he's got a little bit of wiggle to him. Corner infielder by trade, though. Zapp tried to bunt in the second inning. He popped it up to Sebi. So for all the bunting talk we have had today, we have yet to see one be laid down successfully. Although that is an aluminum bat that looks like it has been to war. That thing's got pine tar and chipped paint, and looks like you'd bring it to the rec league at the YMCA. That thing looks like it has been very good to Brian Zapp for a long time.
Those things are expensive.
Well, and you find a good one, you're going to ride it till it cracks.
Well, I can tell you in 1986, when Thomas Howard hit 23 home runs for us, he went through 23 aluminum bats that were dented. So he had a home run for every aluminum bat that we had to provide.
What's the budget for aluminum bat? Did Tank Howard get his own budget for that?
He had to.
That's shot foul.
Now, back then, those bats were quite a bit different than what they are now. They're a lot more lively than what you'll see here. And I can tell you one time in a regional, I had to pull a bat out because it was so flat, and it was an advantage for the hitters.
If you hit the flat part.
That's it, exactly.
If you're good
enough to do that.
Couple of balls and a couple of strikes. It's actually funny if you go to a Ball State practice, because Zapp is up there with an aluminum bat, but some of the guys have the composites that will literally crack. And there are several players that share one bat because that's what they're down to. McDermott goes up high. That is strikeout number 4 for the Cardinals ace.
Well, I can tell you my last year in coaching, 1995, the entire Mid-American Conference was looking to go to wooden bats. And we used them all fall. We talked about it in the winter, and we were ready to go, and we had a bat manufacturer that would supply all we needed, but we felt like we would be at too big of a disadvantage when we played non-conference games.
First pitch to Dalton back, and Chase McDermott's back on the horse here. So first couple of pitches of the inning just didn't feel right. You get a couple outs. All right, I'm back to who I am.
Well, let's also throw in there that conference he had with Sebi, too. I think that Sebi went out and probably calmed him down a little bit.
There's a deep one out toward right, though. Messina back, twisting at the warning track, and he still makes the catch. Ross Messina. That was a Rube Goldberg way to do it, but it's a 1-2-3 fourth inning. Sometimes the wind PQ makes it always fun. That's one way to describe it.
If you look at the flag, that flag is blowing from center field to right. It was a great catch.
No score as we move into the home half of the fourth inning. It looked like we were going to have a score. This was the last at bat at the top of the 4th inning. Dalton back. This looks like a home run, Pat Quinn. Ross Messina is out of room, and then the ball goes 20 feet to the right.
Joel, I would tell you that when that ball left the bat and Messina broke back, I would have said home run. The fact that he stayed with it is unbelievable. Great catch.
I mean, that's the wind doing yeoman's work. And it leaves Bachman in a tie game still. Trenton Quartermain to lead things off. All right, Pat, we can go back to the trivia question we asked last inning with Bachman on the mound. He could be the first-round pick in Miami history. There have been 5 second-round picks. You got any guesses for me?
I'm going to give you 2.
Okay.
I'm going to give you Mark Naring.
Okay.
And I'm going to give you Charlie Leibrandt. And I'm going to surrender on the other 3.
Mark Naring was a 3rd-round pick of the White Sox in 1977. Leibrandt, 9th round in 78. Bill Long, that's the one I thought you'd get.
I should have got Billy. Muller High School player. Should have got Billy. I should have got Jack Cusick, too, because I saw Cusick pitch quite a bit.
04 and 06 are the most recent ones. Now, what is interesting, the June amateur draft is the draft we're talking about. There is also the supplemental draft.
In January.
Yes. And Miami has had a first-round pick in the supplemental draft. And what's wild about that is the one player who's been a first-round pick in Miami history in that supplemental draft is the father of Ball State's Clay Mannering, who was on the pitching staff. Yeah. Back in the 80s.
Mark Mannering was a very, very good player at Miami.
Played in the Yankees organization for a couple of years.
How many did you say were first picks in the supplemental draft?
Just him.
He was the only one?
Only one. His son was on the 2014 MAC championship team here at Ball State. That's a house divided. This thing's a blood rivalry back then. 3-2 is chopped. Bachman's got to cover first, and he does. Quartermain is out number 1 here in the 4th.
Well, we said we wanted to make Bachman move a little bit. There was an opportunity. He did a good job. Got the first, got his feet tied up a little bit. Fortunately for him, he didn't get spiked, and he didn't twist his ankle.
Well, that's the worst case scenario. Just throwing out all the worst case
But
scenarios.
that's what can happen in plays like that. That was not an easy play.
Rosario Messina now. Well, he caught what could have been a home run last time up. This time he tries to bunt and pops it up. So each side has now popped up a bunt, and the bunt game has not worked to make these two pitchers field their position. And that's a tough pill to swallow in the 3 spot of your order.
Yeah, I think it is, but it's something I think that, you know, against a pitcher of this caliber, you've got to try it. And Ball State's got the people that can run a little bit. You get it on the ground, but you've got to get it on the ground.
Nick Powell now. Grounded to shortstop, rolled it the other way as last time. If I told you that Nick Powell weighed 185 pounds, like, I don't think you'd believe me.
I don't believe you.
He weighed $150 coming out of high school. He's put on so much good weight. His first year in college, he was at Schoolcraft Community College, then transferred to Ball State. He's been here now for 3 years. It's all paid off for him. 353, leads the team in hitting. He's got 4 home runs under his belt, bunch of doubles. He's ahead 2-1. We said it earlier, too. He's like the quietest middle of the order hitter you could ask for in this conference. He just looks and acts very unassuming, but then barrels up a baseball, and all of a sudden it's a 1-0 game.
He's very, very steady. He's very compact. He's got a good, quick swing. He gets the barrel to the ball very quickly, and quite often, I might add. but he's 185 now.
185. Grounded towards second. And he's out 4-3. So Bachman has allowed just the one hit to Decker Scheffler back in the second inning. Nothing else. Chase McDermott, though, almost as good and good enough. A pitching duel that has lived up to everything we thought it would be here this afternoon in Muncie. No score, 4 hits, all of them are singles. Pat Quinn, Joel Gadet, Sam Bachman, Chase McDermott. These two guys in a duel to the death right now.
Well, you know what's interesting, too, is that they're pitching the first game of the doubleheader today, which normally neither one of them do. So obviously they had to have a change in their regime and their regiment before they came out here.
Chase McDermott facing 8-9-1. Billy Kopicki did single back in the second inning. Miami put 2 on base that frame. McDermott got out of it. That's really the only tough spot, if you want to call it a tough spot. 2 on, 2 out. Ball and a strike now here to him.
Both pitchers are close in pitch count, 51 and 47. So the pitch count is not in jeopardy of taking anybody out of this matchup right now.
Nobody has successfully executed a bunt. We've seen it a bunch yet today. And that was a real thing coming in. We talked about it with Bachman. He doesn't work deep into games, but he's at 47 pitches. Throw that by the wayside. Did he go? No, he did not. 2 balls and 2 strikes to Kopicki. Count now runs full.
Breaking pitch into the left-handed batter's box.
The approach that Miami has had has really been phenomenal. 3-2, and he got him on strikes. So McDermott now racks up his 5th K. Chase had 2 in the first inning and really rolled through. Vogel saying best hitter Miami has, he singles, but then a couple of strikeouts closed that door. But since then, Miami has been really unintimidated as an offense that comes in 11th of 11 teams in the league against the pitcher that leads the conference in strikeouts.
Yeah, it's surprising. I mean, you would never guess that watching the way Miami swung the bats today. They've had some good outs.
I mean, they've got the loudest out of the game.
Exactly.
Dalton Beck, I think, should have hit a home run, if not for the wind, to close the last inning.
And this field doesn't take a back seat to Wrigley at all when it comes to wind.
Be cool if they could put some ivy out there.
It's all it's missing right now.
I don't know if Josh Paulus, who's the operations director, would appreciate having to take care of it. Fouled. Just wide of the third base bag. Ball and 2 strikes. Nate Stoles is the catcher. See that wind continue to rip inward. I mean, you could make a lot of money betting on the direction of the wind here in Muncie, and it's not what it's doing today.
No, this is unusual.
Couple of balls, couple of strikes. I mean, it's 395 to center field, 325 to the corners. The ballpark is small enough already, but usually the wind is 15 to 20 miles an hour straight out.
Well, and the temperature at this time of year is usually 20 degrees higher.
And yes, he did go around. Chase McDermott strikes out Stoles. I thought that was a strike regardless of if he swung or not.
I did too. Coach Maloney came out of the dugout on that one. I thought it was a called strike, to be quite honest with you.
I mean, this is at the knees. Maybe a little low. He shrunk himself down. It's a good pitch, either way.
It was a good pitch.
Benji Brokman at the top of the order. McDermott hit him back in the third. That's the only free pass of the game. There's not been a walk issued by either of these guys.
came to Miami as an infielder, actually a shortstop, and looking to get his speed, his athleticism into the lineup. They moved him into center field.
2-1.
But I can also tell you that Miami this year lost their normal center fielder. Christian Tejada was the senior. Led the team in hitting in 2019 with a .339 average. He went out with injury after only 6 games this season. So that's where Benji's moved into center field and done a pretty good job for them.
Missed Tejada with an elbow this year. And those are the things you can't plan for. If you're in professional baseball, you call a guy up from the level below you.
You don't have those levels in the college level.
You have a walk-on sign and you hang on it.
Exactly.
And Broekman takes the first walk issued by either pitcher. So a runner on with 2 outs, and now what's interesting, there's 2 outs. Do you put him in motion and utilize that speed? I
do. I think what you're doing here, you've got your best hitter at the plate in Vogelsang, and you've got your leadoff hitter on first, who should have some speed. He's really, though, in all honesty, he hasn't attempted that many times this year. 13 times, successful 6 of them. So I would suspect he would run. They bunt.
Peltier has to field it from third, and then no one covered third. Peltier quick to retreat. But that's the first successful bunt. Both teams have tried to make these pitchers field their position, and finally, here in the 5th inning, Miami does it.
The right fielder, Nate Stone.
And we'll see how McDermott can handle can handle Nate Stone here. He's a .268 hitter. 29 RBIs. This is a big opportunity for Miami.
6 of them have come in the last 7 games for Stone. And he fouls that one away. Again, it's a Miami team that is last in this conference offensively. You have to juxtapose that, though, with Danny Hayden's feelings. Miami's head coach told us, I fill out the lineup every day, and I really like my lineup. Like, I feel good about who I'm putting down and where they are in that lineup, but then I look at the stats. So it's production versus potential. It's all in there. And the count is 0-2.
Yeah, I'm sure that from an offensive standpoint, that Coach Hayden and the Miami staff are disappointed in the overall offensive production this year.
Gives you a lot to work on in the offseason if you like the guys to set up next year. Ball and 2 strikes.
He said they're great guys to work with. He likes their attitude. He likes their work habits. He likes everything about them except the batting results. Outside of 2 or 3 hitters, they're just not what they expected them to be.
Saw the pitch count this inning, 21 for McDermott. It's almost a third of his work. Runners both go, and a strike swinging. So McDermott gives up the single and the walk. Otherwise, he K's the side. We are scoreless to the bottom of the 5th. Rich Maloney in between innings. Ball State's head coach trying to fire up the troops here. Home half of the 5th inning in a 7-inning game. You're into crunch time. Absolute pitcher's duel. Everything we expected it to be, but at some point, somebody is going to have to break through, and Miami has been closer.
Well, you know, a lot of times when you have a matchup like this, your matchup doesn't live up to your expectations. And going through 4.5 innings, or 4.5 innings, this has been everything that's been built. And you know, somebody's going to have to win, somebody's going to have to lose. But these 2 young men have really handled themselves well on the mound.
Adam Tellier will lead things off against Sam Bachman. It'll be Tellier, Decker, Scheffler, who has the Cardinals' only hit, and then Ryan Peltier. And a bunt show. Cardinals will try to execute on what Miami did successfully in the top half of the inning. That bunt single by Vogelsang. This may be the most well-pitched game by both starting pitchers that Ball State has been involved with since the last time they faced Sam Bachman. And that was back in 2019. Tellier pulls back the bunnies ahead, 2 balls, no strikes. Sam Bachman, who will be a first-round draft pick, faced Dre Jameson back in 2019 in Oxford, who was a first-round draft pick. There's a strike called.
That's a pretty good matchup as well.
Pretty good. That's free baseball, too. They didn't sell tickets for that, nor did they today. That game was suspended because of rain in the 6th inning. Bachman had a no-hitter. It was 6 innings, nothing. He has to field his position here. Throws it over to first, and Tellier is out by a leg. And Tellier came up a little gimpy as well, but he looks to be okay. So Bachman does field his position well.
He's limping a little bit coming back.
Yep.
The designated hitter.
Might have hit the bag a little bit awkward.
Scheffler.
Yeah, it's the way he came off.
Looks like he hit the top of the bag a little bit.
Scheffler takes away. In that game back in 2019, Bachman went 6 no-hit. Dre Jameson went 5 1/3, 1 hit. Game gets suspended. Ball State winds up winning the next day 3-2. But, I mean, could you imagine what that would have been if it was 9 innings? Funny thing is the Cardinals came back the next day. Kyle Nicholas was the first reliever. He's a second-round draft pick. You have 3 pitchers in that game. They're all throwing 100. That's not fair.
No, it's amazing what we're seeing anymore. You know, the Mac's always been known for pitching, but I think it's reached a new level the last 3 or 4 years.
1-2, and Scheffler just stays alive. I mean, you got those guys. We talked about Keegan Aiken earlier from Western Michigan, Zach Plesac from Ball State, currently on the DL with the Indians, Eric Lauer from Kent State. These are guys that are all picked. And Plesac fell because of an injury, but would have all been top 5-round picks in the last 5 years. Still 1-2 here to Decker Scheffler. He has the Cardinals' only hit of the game.
Plesac still went pretty high, even though he was coming off of surgery.
12th round with Tommy John.
Which to me is that's a pretty good pick.
And he moved fast, too. Breaking ball gets Scheffler. Just snaps it on the outside corner, and the movement is incredible. I mean, that's a slider, but it dropped off the table.
Well, it's not only does it have side movement, it's got side down movement. And if you can do that with your slider, you're pretty good. And I give him credit doing it today when it's not as easy to grip that breaking pitch and get that bite.
That's 6 strikeouts now for Bachman. Ryan Peltier grounded to second base. Cardinals have hit nothing well. I mean, that might be the hardest hit baseball, and it's out of play to the parking lot. Only 1 ball has left the infield. Well, 2. Scheffler hit the ground ball that got through. But Chase Sebi flied out to center field. Other than that, it's strikeouts and groundouts. And another strikeout. That's number 7. Ryan Peltier down on strikes. And Sam Bachman maybe pitching his best stuff of the season in his final start in a Miami uniform. Danny Hayden has to like what he's seen from his starting pitcher today. Miami's Sam Bachman, final start he'll ever make, presumably with Miami. He'd have to turn down many millions of dollars. Projected first-round pick. 1 hit, it's a single. He has struck out 7. Can his team score runs for him? Well, no is the answer right now.
They had the golden opportunity last inning, and, you know, McDermott did his job.
It was a walk and a bunt single. Chase McDermott had 2 on, 2 out. He strikes out Nate Stone.
I think McDermott's helped himself today.
He came in, he's a top 5-round draft pick anyway. That thing's hit out deep toward right field again. Ross Messina warning track at the wall. He makes the catch again for the 2nd time today. Messina and Chase McDermott saying, yes, sir. I'm trying to help myself and make some money today.
That's 2 outstanding catches in right field by Messina.
The first baseman, Jacob Henser.
Their ball comes off the bat. Again, it leaves the bat with the intent that it looks like it's out of the park. Messina draws a beat on it, takes advantage of the wind, and makes a great catch at the wall.
And a first pitch strike to Jacob Henser as well. You know, McDermott has fed off of those catches. Messina's last one at the wall. McDermott struck out the next 2. Comes back with a tight break on his first pitch here to Henser.
That's where I think he's helped himself some today, Joel. I think he's had some adversity he's had to face with people being on base. He's kept his composure. He's stayed around the plate, and he's got the job done.
Sebi tried to buy him a strike there.
Sebi's real good at framing pitches. There's a lot of times that's going to deter an umpire, but he does it so well that I think it's a benefit for the pitching staff.
They call them Sebi strikes here in Muncie. That one's a legit strike, 2-2.
He's probably going to have to catch all 4 games. I think Christensen, if I'm not mistaken, is under concussion protocol.
Ground ball. And it's easy for Noah Navarro. Just like that, 2 down here in the 6th. I think Chase Sebi is catching all 4 games, regardless of who's healthy, though. You got a chance to win a conference championship. Ball State's 2 games back, 4 games to play. It likely has to sweep. If it wants any chance, it has to win 3 out of 4. Sebi's playing. This is it.
I would agree. I would agree. The Christensen was just starting to swing the bat pretty well, too.
First pitch strike, and Brian Zapp is behind. Penultimate offensive inning here for Miami. Cardinals have 6 outs to play with on their side. Now, it is worth noting, today we've got a doubleheader. This is the 7-inning game. We have a 9-inning game to follow. If this game were to go into extras, the 9-inning game would become the 7-inning game, regardless of how long this game goes. So we could have an 8-inning game followed by a 7-inning game. But as long as this remains deadlocked, the distance fate of our second game today is at peril.
I guess those are called COVID rules.
Sure. Chase missed down.
Well, it was interesting, too, that Miami had a weekend series against Bowling Green earlier in the season postponed and had to make them up on Tuesdays, which puts a strain on your pitching staff.
They didn't use their normal pitchers. That's swung on and missed. Sebi's going to have to chase it. Should have another runner reach here for the Redhawks. So Brian Zapp is aboard with 2 down. Strikeout, wild pitch. Yeah, you had a weekend series that turned into 1 game on a Tuesday, then a doubleheader on another Tuesday. They already played this past Tuesday again to get all those games in. And you're like, it's not like Sam Bachman's throwing Tuesday and coming back on Saturday.
Right. I mean, Miami did not use any of their top 4 starting pitchers in those single games.
Which normally, yeah, you play Tuesdays. That's regular college baseball, not this year. But also, you don't typically have 4 games on a weekend in regular college baseball.
Well, and usually those midweek games are non-conference games where you don't have as much stress and pressure on you.
Dalton back is the batter. Runner goes, Sebi throws, and the runner is safe. Slid right past the tag, so Brian Zapp is into second base. And the rare steal off Chase Sebi. It was there, it just carried Navarro a little bit too far. Base hit, this game takes on a very different complexion. Check swing, yes he did. Miami has had a runner on in all but 1 inning today.
Coach Hayden's pretty high on Darren Dalton back too. He's just a freshman, but he feels like he's ahead in his development and feels that if it would have been a regular draft last year, he would have been an individual that would have been drafted.
Maybe in a 20-rounder, certainly he thought in a 40-rounder. Runner goes again, and defensive indifference. Zap is over to third. They didn't cover, they didn't hold. Sebi made no attempt to throw him out. Got to make sure nothing gets by Sebi, though. 2-2. Got him! Chase McDermott out of the jam. Miami strands its 7th. They get nothing. Scoreless as we go to the 6th. We just saw the best chance to score go by the wayside. The Miami Redhawks have left 7 on base here this afternoon. It was a 2-out strikeout of Brian Zapp. He reaches first on a wild pitch, steals second, defensive indifference to third. He is left there, and Sam Bachman is right now left out on the mound saying, "Somebody give me something." He's given up 1 hit as we go to the home half of the 6th inning. He works this deep into a game for just the 4th time this year. 8-9-1 to face him, the future first-round pick. Final start in a Redhawks uniform. And the Cardinals have had nothing on him here. So what do you have to do over the next 2 innings if you're Ball State and you want to win?
Well, I think what you've got to start doing now is crowding the plate. Be looking for that inside fastball. Pull the trigger quickly. If you get an opportunity to lean into one, I might have to lean into one. You've got to get base runners somehow.
Sebi bunts, drops it down right in front. Catcher will field it, and Stoles throws out his counterpart. Second time the Cardinals have attempted the bunt, trying to make Bachman field his position.
It looked like that ball came off the plate. So took a little bit of high bounce, which allowed the catcher to make the play. And again, it's a good idea. I mean, you've got to do something. I mean, Bachman's in total control right now. Like I said, I'd be crowding that plate and pulling the trigger quickly on the inside fastball.
Inside. It's not a fastball, but it is a strike. Aaron Simpson struck out back in the 3rd. Looked like he'd just seen God afterward. He's the hottest hitter in Ball State's order, so you're right where you want to be if you're the Cardinals. Simpson's behind nothing in 2, though, because it's Simpson and then the top of the order. So your best hitters against the best pitcher with everything on the line. The Cardinals still in the hunt for the MAC championship, and they pretty much need to win every game this weekend. Ball and 2 strikes. Central Michigan right now is in the driver's seat, 2 games up with 4 games to play. Chippewas just underway for the first of their doubleheader today at Toledo. There is no score there. 1-2. Got him. That thing was awesome.
Yeah, I'm not sure what Simpson was looking for. I'm not sure what he was thinking, but Bachman certainly challenged him right there, and the pitch was, it looked to me to be a real good slider on the outer half. I mean, unbelievable good pitch.
If I never saw anything other than that one pitch, I would take him in the first round and leave. Like scouting director, I have seen enough.
That's all you need?
That was all I needed.
Sometimes you pull the trigger quick.
I mean, that's also why I'm not a scout, but look at that thing.
I mean, it's an unbelievable pitch, and Simpson's reaction.
Navarro does reach off of that. You know, you get a great pitch thrown your way for a strikeout, and then some junk gets you on base. So Navarro is on, and now here comes the Cardinals' charge, and we can call it that in a game like this. 2 outs and a runner with speed at first.
I think you've got to run in this situation. 2 outs late in the game, left-handed hitter at the plate, which makes it tougher on the catcher to throw.
Miami did, and it worked.
Yes.
Brian Zapp reached last half inning, stole second base, made it to third. He was stranded, but that's how the inning played out. And Navarro does take off. Pitches swung on and missed. And ball actually does get away, but it hit Navarro. If not for that, he may have popped up and gone to third. But now you have Trenton Quartermain at the plate. Guy who hits almost 500. 1 out of every 2 with runners in scoring position. That's exactly what he has here. And if you want to be a big-time player, you have to hit in big-time spots. This is that for Trenton Quartermain.
We talked about his defense. Now we'll see how he does with the offense in this situation.
He's behind 0-2.
Got his hands through pretty good and hit it way foul. He's got to really be protecting now because Bachman's in total control. He can throw that slider in on the hands or run that two-seam fastball away from him.
0-2. Quartermain went fishing. Bachman's actually on the record talking about these types of situations, Pat. When you get batters in an 0-2 situation, it's his favorite spot because you just know the batter is dangling out there.
Well, it's easy to say for somebody who throws 100 miles an hour. It would be my favorite spot, too, if I could do that.
Navarro at second, 0-2. Ground ball chopped. That is foul again. Just heard it in the crowd. Way to battle. I mean, that's what it comes down to here.
It's a battle on both ends. Quartermain at the plate, Bachman on the mound.
Turn that around for a second, because you think all the pressure is on the hitter. Remember, Sam Bachman is in a scoreless game as well. He also wants to get this out.
Well, he knows if he gives up a base hit, he's probably lost the game.
Yeah, with McDermott on the mound on the other side.
Exactly.
0-2, he does not give up a hit. Quartermain goes down on strikes. That is 9 for Bachman in 6 innings. First round pick. It's a scoreless game. Can his team give him a run? We've said it a couple of times already today. We'll say it again because we can't say it enough. This has lived up to everything we thought it would be from a pitching standpoint. No score as we go to the top of the 7th of a 7-inning game. Chase McDermott, Sam Bachman. Both men working out of jams in the 6th. It's 8-9-1 for Miami. And a beautiful breaking ball misses just away. Chase McDermott, league's strikeout leader. There's a strike, 1-1.
That wind is blowing straight in now. Directly straight in from center field, which does not happen very often.
It's actually saved McDermott. As great as this game has been, Miami has hit 2 balls to the warning track and 2 balls that probably leave on a normal day.
I would agree.
It was Cole Andrews in the 6th inning. Dalton back in the 4th inning. Ross Messina made both grabs. It's downstairs. 3-1.
And that's going to be it.
Rich Maloney has seen enough from Chase McDermott in a scoreless game with a 3-1 count. How about this move? John Baker, the Game 2 starting pitcher, has been summoned out of the bullpen. Rich Maloney is firing every bullet with a conference championship at stake. How about this for a managerial decision? The Game 2 starter in today's doubleheader, John Baker, is summoned out of the bullpen for an indeterminate amount of time here in Game 1 of the Twin Bill. John Baker replaces Chase McDermott, who goes 6+, 4 singles, no runs, 1 walk, 8 strikeouts. And PQ, he fell behind 3 balls and 1 strike here to Billy Kopicki, but he was dueling and dealing with Sam Bachman.
Well, I've got to say Coach Maloney knows his players better than any of us, and if he feels like that was the appropriate time to make a move,
sure,
you make the move. You've got to win this game. What he's thinking is let Baker come in, pitch an inning, hopefully, score in the bottom of the 7th, and be able to start the 2nd game and go as far as he can.
3-2's cut on and missed, and John Baker comes in, picks up the strikeout. The move pays off for now. There's 1 down.
The other question on the flip side of this is how much further does Coach Hayden go
with
Sam Bachman?
Well, there's nobody in the pen.
There's nobody going in the pen, so he went 91 pitches last week in a 7-inning game against Akron, or seven-inning outing against Akron. You would think that he would at least go 7 innings today.
First pitch strike to Stoles. Where it becomes interesting is if Ball State doesn't score, how long? Like, you've already fired the Baker bullet. You're going to leave him in because you're trying to win this game. But what does that do for the next game? Obviously, there's no pitch counts today, and you know, you're playing for a conference championship. John Baker's a fifth-year senior. He's a pro prospect, but he's not what you'd consider a prospect in the sense that,
right,
you know, there's oodles of money riding on the line. Do you wait? If he works 4 innings in this first game, you bring him back and throw him another 7 or 8 in game 2?
I think it depends on how many pitches he makes and how does he feel. What does he tell you in between games?
Well, he's going to tell you, throw me again, Coach.
Then I think you honor his wishes and you go with him.
It's another strikeout for John Baker, so he has come in and accomplished the goal here, 2 down. When the series was Friday single game, Saturday doubleheader, Sunday single game, the expectation coming in, John Baker and Luke Jaksic, who will start one of the 2 games tomorrow, went to Rich Maloney and said, hey, we're pitching Sunday. Like, we want to win a conference championship, we're pitching Sunday. So you know that Baker wants to do whatever's going to happen here today. He wants his team to win a title, and he's going to do whatever he needs to make that happen.
Well, I think he knows in his mind this could be his last weekend as a baseball player.
Yeah.
You know, at any competitive level. And he's given an awful lot in his career, I'll tell you that.
0-2. Fisted back foul. That thing smoked the piping. See it ricochet all the way back out to Sebi. That metal pole that holds up the backstop.
You know, it doesn't surprise me at all at this move right here. I can see it. I just
got him on strikes. It worked out. 1, 2, 3 for Baker in the 7th. Now, can Ball State make him a winner in 2 games on the same day? Here's their first shot. It's the second best game that Sam Bachman has pitched this season in a Miami uniform. No score as we go to the bottom of the last. He's allowed only 1 hit in a game 3 times previous. He's allowed 2 today. He gave up 1 hit in 6 innings, struck out 11 against Western Michigan back on April 10th. You look at the line for him today. The shame of it is he's either going to give something up here and lose the game, or there is now bullpen action starting for Miami out in the right field corner. So we might get this pitcher's duel of Chase McDermott and Sam Bachman that gets us a decision for neither one of them. There's nobody up throwing yet, but there is a body down there who's working on one of those blade apparatuses to loosen up an arm. He's got a hoodie on, so we can't tell you who. Ross Messina leads it off. I
don't have a radar gun, but I would tell you that it looks to me as if his velocity is still pretty much the same.
Got some radar guns down in front of us.
I haven't seen any drop off.
It was an 84-mile-an-hour slider. See if he throws a fastball for us here. I'm going to poach off these scouts' guns. 84 again. 1-2 to Messina. Literally have a scout with his eval sheet in front of me. 1-2 is grounded foul. I'm trying to read it, but it's on an iPad. Just trying to see how many 80s he has on the 20-80 scale. Probably none. That would be in the Hall of Fame. But how many 65 or 70s? One-two to Messina. Fouled off again.
I was running the Georgia Tech Regional one year for the NCAA. The general manager's son from Georgia Tech was playing center field, and I got the general manager of the Mets phone call through my cell phone that night. However technical it works, I don't know, but I was on his phone calls.
1-2's fouled away.
I was going to help him with any trades or whatever.
I'm telling you, get rid of the Kingman guy. And the Pulsiver thing's never going to work. Nobody out here. 1 ball and 2 strikes to Messina. Fouls it away. Although what's funny is actually I saw a graphic. There's a piece of the scouting section. The modern day average hitter compared to Dave Kingman's stats. He's it nowadays.
He'd be well respected.
It's all power, low average.
Exactly.
Messina's fighting here. 80th pitch for Bachman. Did he go? No, he did not on appeal. So Messina hangs around. Couple of balls, couple of strikes. Bachman struck out Messina back in the first inning. Ross popped up a bunt in the 4th.
Big pitch right here.
Dribbler. Bachman has to field his position. Bachman bobbles, and Messina is aboard. That is what Ball State has desperately been wanting all game long. And the leadoff runner is on for the first time today.
You've got to feel that this is going to be a bunt situation.
It's officially an error. So Messina is on. Nick Powell, your cleanup batter.
The left fielder, Nick Powell.
Rich Maloney didn't hesitate to put Navarro in motion. Does he put Messina running here? Or do you just go straight up bunt? Although Bachman's got to throw to first cleanly, though.
See, this is the thing that I would do, too, is I would make Bachman really pay a lot of attention to me at first base. Draw a couple throws, make him try to pay more attention to me than he is at the plate.
Messina stays put. There's that bunt show you were asking for. I mean, it's the first time that Bachman has had to do anything other than rear back and throw a pitch.
And there's more to pitching than rearing back and throwing a pitch. That's why we've been saying about the bunting, put him in action through the entire game.
It's the first time that Bachman has had a runner on with less than 2 outs.
We just call timeout and upset his rhythm a little bit. Don't let him get comfortable.
Bunt, foul. It's almost the professional incarnation of, remember the movie Rookie of the Year?
Yes.
Where Henry Rowan Gardner is just standing on first base, has his hands in the air, look at me, look at me. You're playing that mind game. The 1-1 bunt laid down. Zap from third. And he has the out at first base, but the Cardinals move the winning run into scoring position. Nick Powell does his job. Now the question is, can Adam Tellier or Decker Scheffler, the next 2 batters, do theirs?
Well, Rich made the comment in talking about Tellier that he needs to come up with some big hits. And there's never a bigger opportunity than this situation right here. We're talking about a .295 hitter facing the best pitcher in the Mid-American Conference. Game on the line, game you have to have. You can't get a bigger hit than what this would be right here.
And Tellier's been in a little bit of a funk. First pitch, he does offer. You could just see Rich Maloney positioning himself. He's getting in the right spot to know whether or not he can send Ross Messina.
Wave or hold.
Tellier, though, was hitting over 400 a couple of weeks ago. He's now just 4 for his last 27, including 0 for 2 today. So a big spot. Yeah, this is a huge spot. And Rich Maloney calls time to discuss it with him, further upsetting Bachman's rhythm.
If I was a lip reader, which I'm not, I would guess that he's saying stay short, take your hands right to the ball, drive it right through the middle.
The winning run is at second base in what has been a brilliant pitcher's duel. Nice curve. Nothing in 2 to Tellier. The other consideration is just don't strike out. Like if you can ground a ball here and advance the runner to third, that's the next best thing.
Yes.
0-2, grounded toward third base. Zap over to first. Tellier is retired, and the Cardinals now do have the winning run, 90 feet from home, and Decker Scheffler in the spotlight. Boy, what a spot for a freshman.
It is, but you know, this is a guy that, again, Coach Maloney really likes. He feels like he's going to be a big hitter for them in the future. He'd be a big hitter for them right now today if he comes through in this particular situation.
That was the only guy that had a hit against Sam Bachman until the 6th inning. Singled back in the 2nd, and he takes at his knees here.
Again, Bachman staring into the Miami dugout, getting pitch from either head coach Danny Hayden or the Miami pitching coach, but they're calling the pitches from the dugout.
Ball and a strike. Now, if you don't score here, nothing ventured, nothing gained. You go to extra innings. We'll go to the 8th. If you do score here, A, you win the game, but B, you also spell John Baker a little bit of extra work so that he can go and start game 2 with not a whole lot of wear and tear today on his arm.
Well, if this game goes into extras, it also changes the second game.
From a 9 to a 7. Scheffler swings.
There it is.
Ball State has defeated Bachman.
There it is.
It's a 1-0 walk-off, and the Cardinals' MAC title dreams are still alive. Decker Scheffler is a lifelong Ball State fan from Minnesota. And he just created a moment that Ball State fans alike will remember for years. It's an RBI single in the 7th. It's an unearned run. And it's enough to beat Sam Bachman, a first-round draft pick. John Baker picks up the win in relief, center of your screen. And now he has a half an hour to keep himself warm to start game 2. Boy, if he can win a pair of games in one day, the MAC pitcher of the week of what?
Well, you know, you look back on the whole situation taking McDermott out. Rich made the right calls all the way around, bringing Baker in when he did. He made sure that Miami did not score. And then basically moving up on a bunt, taking advantage of the error, runner advancing to third on the infield out, and then the line single to left center field. You can't draw it up any better than that. And it's a game you had to have. I mean, there's just no ifs, ands, or buts about it. To beat the best pitcher in the Mid-American Conference, it's got to give you a lot of confidence going into that second game. And I think the other good thing about it is that game being a 9-inning game, I think works in Ball State's favor. Because the longer they go, the better they get offensively.
Sam Bachman goes into the 7th inning for just the 2nd time this season. He does it in back-to-back weeks. And the Cardinals, who could not touch him, finally do in the 7th. The inning starts with an error, and it ends with Decker Scheffler, a freshman, coming through with a walk-off RBI single. Everything you wanted in a Saturday weekend lid lifter. 1-0 Cardinals win. We're back in a half hour. Game 2 coming your way. This has been a production of ESPN. All games are archived and streaming live on the ESPN app. For Pat Quinn, our producer is Eric Perrin. My name is Joel Gaddad. So long from Muncie.